Who's gonna pick the grapes this year? I don't think the teenagers are gonna do it. Young people want to drink wine, they just don't know it yet. And what are your wine service pet peeves? VinePair asked 9 SOMMs theirs. I have a few of my own. Let's discuss. All that and more on this episode of This Week Uncorked. Hello and welcome to this episode of This Week Uncorked. It's episode 30 for Monday, February 10th, 2025. From Cork and Journey, I am Brett Martin. It's your number one source for Corkage fees. We also have restaurant reviews, wine reviews, winery reviews, and more. So head on over to corkandjourney.com to check out all of that. And with that, let's get right into this week's wine news. So KQED had an article about the California wine industry could face a huge impact from Trump's immigration policies. This affects all farmers and all crops, not just the wine industries in California. But from the article, recent U.S. Department of Labor survey estimates that undocumented immigrants make up 51% of the state's agricultural workforce. At a time when wine sales are lagging, experts agree that mass deportations would have a devastating impact on the industry. It's crazy, there's some compensation, something is going to have to be made to say, look, you can come up here and harvest the crops and pick the crops because honestly, it's not just grapes, it's almonds, it's everything. California has a huge agricultural industry. And, without that labor pool that comes up here seasonally and picks all of the crops, it could be problematic. So just another great thing happening to the U.S. wine industry and the California wine industry. And going a whole different direction in the news, I found this article from Wine Enthusiast about what you need to know about wine fridge prices, and it kind of takes you down and breaks down everything you need to know about wine fridges. Granted, it is a very self-serving article because Wine Enthusiast is one of the biggest sellers of wine fridges. They have them all from the $15,000, $20,000 wine fridges down to the $150 wine fridges. But it's kind of a nice breakdown. And if you're thinking about buying a wine fridge, I thought it'd be worth pointing out, and you can check it out. We have the Vino Views. We have 4 of them, and they're fantastic. I mean, it's all around keeping wines at the proper storage temperature, the proper humidity, all of those kind of things. So if you're starting to build a wine collection, each one of them holds, I think, 155 bottles. It's 12 shelves of 12, and then you've kind of got a bottom bin area. So you got 144, and you probably can fit another 20 bottles in the bottom bin. So maybe it takes you up to 164, 165 bottles, whatever you can kind of squeeze in there. But that's a nice one if you want to start with that. But there are also some great ones that, have a much smaller capacity, 50, 60 bottles. There are ones that have split temperatures. So maybe you just want to keep 20, 30 bottles around at a time, and you want 10 whites down there and 20 reds or whatever. You can split the temperature on those because you do need to store them and keep them at different temperatures. I think on my reds, I keep it about 55, and on the whites, somewhere around 40. By the time you pull them out, it's about right on the reds. You pull them out, you decant them. It's like perfect serving temperature. So anyway, check out that article on Wine Cellars. Hopefully or wine fridges. Maybe you'll find it valuable. And with that, little quick shout out to SOMM TV. Jason Wise and friends over there are always doing a great job just making content about wine. And if you use the link in the YouTube video here or in the show notes over at corkandjourney.com, and if you click on that link, you'll get 50% off, $3.50 a month, super cheap. Amazing content on wine, and then dropping new stuff virtually every week. So worth taking a look at. And with that, we'll move right into the rest of the news. So we talked a little bit about this last week, but Silicon Valley Bank released their Silicon Valley Bank State of the U.S. Wine Industry report last week. And Rob McMillan now has a blog over at SVB on Wine, where he's really kind of talking about, okay, here's what's in the report and here's what we need to do. And I'm reading from the article here. It's time to break the mold and reevaluate everything we think. direct to consumer, grape contracts, the tasting room model, micro collaborations with neighbors, the effectiveness of our social media campaigns, wholesale distribution, our efficiencies, how we use data, our messaging, where we market, how we define an experience. The list is long and includes gaining personal insight and being willing to take a position on the inflated claims of the anti-alcohol industry. And yes, I know permit holders can't make health claims, but we can do more in that area. Staying silent has not been a good strategy. The possibilities are bright ahead of us because wine is what the young consumer wants. They just don't know it, so let's tell them. So basically what he's saying here is that the messaging is all wrong, especially going after that young wine drinker. We talk about this show after show. We've had a lot of comments recently. Boomers are aging out. Boomers are the biggest drinkers of wine. I'm a boomer.
Okay, boomer.
And so you're getting the point. You've got to market downstream. We've talked about the pricing issues. We've kind of covered all of that. Well, maybe it is time to rethink that entire overall strategy as to how they're going to start marketing to other people who may not know how good wine is. And I mean, the problem is that at the grocery store, your average, $10, $15 bottle of wines and not that great. And that's probably what a lot of younger drinkers are purchasing. And so how do you get them to kind of move up that food chain? And what can we do about the overall pricing? So with tariffs, we talked about that last week. Is the price of wine going to go up? By bringing the price of wine up for imports now, I think that's just going to gut the entire young population drinking it, but we will see. And then lastly, VinePair has a fantastic article that I loved about, they asked 9 SOMMs, what are their biggest pet peeves in service? What are the big red flags when they're getting service at a restaurant? So here's the list: sparkling wine served in flutes, talking down to guests, wine served too warm, skipping bottle presentations, pretentious wine flexes, glasses not properly cleaned, incorrect glassware, pouring out the entire bottle all at once, and only letting one team member sell wine. Well, for me, it's number 3, wines being served too warm. Drives me absolutely nuts. You order a nice bottle of red and it arrives at around 75 degrees. So we talked about the wine fridges earlier. I mean, you see it, you know it. They don't have a wine fridge. Their wine is just sitting out on a shelf. It's summer. Maybe they don't have proper air conditioning. God only knows. They pull out a warm bottle of red wine and they serve it to you, and you're like, why? Especially you see this with wines by the glass all the time. They open the bottle at noon. It's been sitting there on the counter just getting warm all the time, and now they serve you. That one kills me. Number 6, glasses not properly cleaned. That's just bad. I mean, you look at it and it's got water spots all over it. It's just not a good look. It's not the end of the world, but not a good look. Incorrect glassware is kind of interesting. And if you may notice, I kind of set up a whole different set here today. So this is crazy. This is the Vinium collection, or Vinium from Riedel. And we were actually at a wine tasting or wine dinner, and this was a gift. So we got these, but they are saying here, this is your Cabernet Merlot. This is your Pinot. This is your Chardonnay, and the very last one is a whole special glass just for Sauvignon Blanc. So, hey, all of these different styles here. I did pull out a wine flute as well. We never use it, but I do have one. A port glass, which looks awfully similar to the Sauvignon Blanc glass, but I would never think to drink Sauvignon Blanc out of that glass. And then you've got standard Chardonnay glass, big Bordeaux glass, and then the classic Pinot glass, which is completely different than what Riedel says your Pinot glass should be. But this is kind of the classic, you're going to drink Pinot, this would be the glass you would choose across the board for that. All that being said, the Gabriel glass, universal glass, whatever universal glass you like, there are many, many, many of these universal glasses out there. We have probably 20 of these. This is all we ever use. Guests come over. Occasionally on Pinot, I will pull out the Pinot glass if it's a super great Pinot. I don't know. I'd love your thoughts. Do you think the glass makes a massive difference? You could. Yeah. in a pinch, just always pull out your coffee mug. And I've seen that happen before as well. But I'm just kind of curious, what do you think? Is it, it's a glass, you big into glassware? I mean, I kind of am. I own all this stuff behind me, and we own a lot of Pinot glasses, and I own a lot of the big Bordeaux glasses. I mean, I guess I will occasionally as well drop out this is a Zweisel, and sometimes with a really big red, I'll pour it into here. And you do notice a difference. You notice a difference on aromas. I don't think you notice a difference on taste, but some people will say you do. But anyway, those are the pet peeves. There's one last one, which is pouring out the entire bottle all at once. How many times are you at a restaurant and you've got your wine glass up and they start pouring and they get right about to here, which is where they should stop, and they just keep pouring and keep pouring. They get up to about here and you're like, whoa, stop. It's great if you're ordering by the glass, I guess, but if you bought a bottle and they're pouring it, you're kind of like, hey, stop the whole thing. So anyway, article got me thinking. I would love to know what your pet peeves are on service, and if any of the things I talked about resonate with you as well. All right. And with that, let's move on to our wine and winery of the week. All right, we're going to do Honrama Cellars in Sonoma, California. We were actually visiting another winery up there, and this winery is located in kind of a multi-custom crush facility where you've got a couple wineries, and they're all kind of tucked away together. We were waiting for someone to show up to do an interview, and in doing so, we got to meet with Miriam Puentes. And her and her husband, Juan, founded the winery in honor of her father, Honorario Ramirez Mata. Honorario started as a field worker for Camus and moved up through the ranks and ended up being the cellar master at Camus under Chuck Wagner. And he was tragically killed. I think it was a car accident. And he had the dream of founding his own winery. And so his daughter and her husband carried that on. Her husband turned out to be the winemaker. And although he passed away in 1998, they just went ahead and started making wine. And in doing so, have done a fantastic job just with everything they do. And with that, I kind of talk about our wine of the week. And that is the Honrama Cellars Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon 2019. It's my last bottle of it. A fantastic Cabernet. We rated it 90 points, comes in at $58. It is just beautiful. Bold blackberry, black cherry, mocha. It's really balanced. It's got some really nice tannins, got a nice finish. It's a super nice, and this is a Napa Valley, even though Honrama is in Sonoma. They're Pinots from Sonoma. So they're basically sourcing grapes from all over the valley and doing a really nice job, and not really a winery you hear about when you're up in Sonoma or you're up in Napa. We just stumbled across them, and worth giving a shout out because, man, it was a very, very pleasant experience. So add them to your list next time you're up in the valley. And with that, let's move on to our restaurant of the week. All right, this is Rebel Omakase. We actually mentioned them back in August in episode 5 because we'd actually done a review of them earlier a while back on Cork and Journey, and they got a Michelin star when we were doing a whole thing on Michelin stars and restaurants that got their stars, and there they were. And it is well deserved. They are in Laguna Beach, California. They're tucked away in a little plaza. They are worth hunting down. It is a 20-plus course dining experience. It is crazy good. It's just a whole bunch going on. Sushi, sashimi, one-shot soups, grilled meats, wagyu. It's just, you can see from the photos you're watching on YouTube here that it is just, it's a culinary delight. It really, really is. These guys know what they're doing, and they do it exceptionally well. I want to say when we were there a couple of years ago, it was probably, I think it was $250 a head. Not bad. That didn't include, if you want to do pairings, they did a pairing as well. Or you can just order off the bottle of wine off the menu or sake off the menu. Fantastic menu, as you would, wine list and sake list, as you would imagine for a restaurant of this caliber. But crazy crazy. This used to be a little place that I would go in and have lunch when I lived down in Laguna. It was not Rebel Omakase then. It was just kind of a little dinette, kind of served comfort food, that kind of stuff. They lost their lease, went out of business. These guys came in and they're doing it right, and which is pointed out by the fact they got a Michelin star. They don't allow corkage, so you can't bring your own bottle in there. So you do have to go off their list, but it's a good list. It is a little pricey, but it's the price you pay for a dining experience. Anyway, with that, we're going to wrap up the show. I wanted to thank everybody so much for joining us over here at This Week Uncorked, and we appreciate it if you would head over to our YouTube channel over at youtube.com, Cork and Journey, and subscribe, like, leave some comments. Also follow us on all of social media, Instagram, X, Facebook, everywhere. Really appreciate it. Until next week, everybody. Cheers.